Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Slim, aka Mr. Different, back with another video. I am back from a long, stressful week, as you guys already know, but we're about to get back into the videos once again. And today we got a brand new plugin from the guys at iZotope. This is Ozone 8 Advanced. We're gonna take a look at them, do a little overview, and I'm also gonna be making some videos on how to use it and better utilize this plugin in more detail. But today I just want to give you like an overview of the new features in Ozone 8 and what you can expect when you get it. If you decide to pick it up yourself, because I highly recommend it. I've been using Ozone since Ozone 4 or 5, and I've been using Ozone forever for all my mastering tools, because it's just one of the best all-in-one mastering plugins. So let's take a look at Ozone 8 and what it has to offer. I also want to say shout out to iZotope for reaching out to me to check out their plugin. So thank you for that. But anyway, I believe all the information linked below if you want to check out their product. So basically, if you don't know what Ozone is a all-in-one mastering plugin. So it's your one-stop shop for Ozone. Now I have Ozone Advanced, so I have both the standalone version and the VST version. And when you buy Advanced, you get each individual module, like the Maximize Dynamics EQ, all the other ones that are in here. I think there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 total. You get all 12 individual plugins that you can insert into your chain for mixing as well, which is good if you buy the advanced version. So it's good for that extra little bit of money. But that's just that. Yeah, like I said, if you don't know what Ozone is, it's everything from mastering. You have EQs, compressors, imaging. You have vintage stuff. They have vintage modules. They have imager for stereo separation, all that good stuff. And they have a new plugin that we're going to look at as well. I haven't played with it. I do some more research, but there's a new plugin. But the biggest feature of Ozone 8 is the mastering assistant, which basically will listen to your audio and make a preset for you to start with to start mixing. Now, it is not no be all end all. You doing is master. It's a good starting place. That's what I'm gonna show you. So they got this idea. They took the idea from Neutron 2, which we're gonna be looking at too in another video. It's basically the same thing, but it listens to your music and it determines. So let's take a look at that before we get into everything else real quick. So can notice what you guys really want to see, the new features, then we'll go over the overview of it completely. So the master assistant is right here. If you just click Master Assistant, it'll tell you what are you going for. Are you going for streaming on the web? Are you going for a CD master? Or are you going for a reference? Which a reference means if you bring in another track that's like one of your favorite songs and you want to kind of quote unquote master it to the same level as that, you can do that. But we'll do streaming because we upload to YouTube and BeatStars and all that good stuff. So we'll do hit next. And it's gonna say wait for hearing your music. You want to go to the loudest part of your music, so mine will be right around here, and we'll just play the beat and let it do its work. So there it is. It's pretty fast. It takes a little time, but I would suggest putting it like the loudest part of your mix, of course. That's what you really want to do it for. And yeah, it just pretty much give me a preset. Like I say, it's basically machine learning, like all these online mastering craps that I don't like, but it does in your PC. But like I said, when you do this, don't leave it alone. Let's just take a listen to what it sounds like, what it did to my stuff. So we just so it made it a little bit clearer, a little bit punchier. Let's see what it actually did in each module. So the EQ, let's see, it rolled off some of the lows, which probably wouldn't do that myself. Let's say it boosted some of the mids, gave me a little high boost. Okay, EQ compressor wise, it didn't do nothing to the compressor. It did add a compressor, but it didn't actually disable it. So I guess I can bring that in and out. Dynamic EQ, it looked like it kind of. It's just taming some of those peaks in the low mids and the highs. And then the maximizer, of course, is doing pretty good. I don't know. Pretty good start point. Like I said, I wouldn't let this be like, oh, it mastered it for me. I would definitely go back and tweak it, like especially like the volume. I can make it louder probably. now we go to the EQ, and I might bring this back some so it's not rolling off so much of my lows. But yeah, as you see, if I was doing a real master thing, I'll use that just to get me a starting point, and I'll tweak it to go. So that's a real good feature right there. Other stuff in his, if you don't know, you got your standard stuff, as you got your level meters over here that show you peak and RMS for your input and outputs, which is really good. I like this feature right here, which is the gain match. So basically, when you bypass the plugin, you're actually going to get a level matched version of the bypass or without the plugin. So basically what's gonna do is it's gonna bypass all the plugins or all the modules, and it's gonna level match it to my master. So you get kind of a apples to apples comparison. So I'll show you that real quick. You just hit level gain match. And that's a good way to check if you know what you're doing is actually enhancing your plugin, or you're enhancing your audio, or is it, you know, being detrimental to it in the long run. So that's good right there. Then you got your mono swap. You got your mono button, which is good. I always check stuff in mono for phasing. You have swap left and right. You have reference, which basically you can bring in a reference track, which I like this new function as well. So if I had like some other audio from another artist that I like or producer, I can drag in it here and compare and contrast, you know, the reference, their track to my track, if I want to try to get kind of that similar mix and master, which is really good. You got your codec list too, which I love this function. You can actually hear different codecs, for example. So we'll go to MP3, and you can go like, you can see what it sounds like at 92, you know, 96 KBS. It sounds like crap. And then you go to listen to the artifacts. You actually see the information you're losing when you actually import it or export to that format. So you're losing all the information when exporting to that format. So you can actually see what MP3 and AAC is doing to your audio, which is a good way to understand, you know, why wave files are so good compared to MP3, and why MP3s can be, you know, messed up in some cases. You have your dither, of course. You're going to export the MP3. You want to add dithering. It just adds noise to the gaps, and like I said, all that stuff you're losing, information you're losing, it just adds noise to kind of fill in those gaps. So it's more, it just sounds a little bit better. It's science I don't want to talk about in this video, but that's what it pretty much does. You got your link buttons, of course, and then we'll just go through each individual module too while we got time, because it's, you know, it's gonna be a pretty good video. It's like an overview. So you got your standard EQ, which your EQ has, you know, it has up to 8 bands. You can be either low pass, low shelf, bell, high shelf, or low pass, and each one has different type of like curves for them. So you got like vintage, Baxendale, resonance, low pass. You have flat, resonance, brick wall, which is really good to use. And your bells have, you know, different stuff. Proportional EQ with band shift, good. You have your surgical mode, which gives you like which lets you know, go surgical. I think if you got to hit digital, you can go to surgical mode and get more fine-tuned, precise, you know, cuts and boosts, which is good for cutting out stuff. I recommend that. Analog is more just like, you know, vintage sounding. You got your Q values. You can change between analog style curve or digital style. You can match audio, which if you're matching your EQ to if you're trying to match it to a reference track, you actually match the EQ curves of that reference track to the audio you're putting in it, which is really good. And then you have your stereo, mid side, and left and right. So you can, you know, you can do mid side processing, which I love doing, or you can do left and right stereo EQ, which I don't really do too much of that, or you can do just the whole audio. And you got your different type of different type of viewing modes right there, which is pretty cool. Your dynamics is basically your compressor. It's a multi-band compressor. I think it has up to 4 bands of compression. I think, yeah, 4 bands of compression you can compress. You have a limiter, a compressed section, basically standard stuff. I use it as a bus compressor. I'll just make it like 1 band and use it on the entire track. That's how I use a bus compressor inside of here, which is pretty cool. And you got mid side, of course, and you have a side chain key, which you can tell it to listen to only compress above this threshold, which is very good to keep your low end pretty balanced. I'll go into a more in-depth video about that in the future, but not in this video. Just kind of give you an overview right there. But yeah, standard compressor right there. Addictive has addictive release and auto gain matching, and just some standard stuff for, you know, compression. Dynamic EQ, one of my favorite things. It's basically like multi-band compression, and EQ had a baby. So you can either dip out certain frequencies like a multi-band compressor, or you can enhance them. Basically, you pick an EQ point, and you can tell to either make it go like compress it, which would be downward compression, or upward expansion. And you know, you can either enhance it at certain parts, or you can, you know, do that, or you can, you know, compress it. I'll probably make a full video on how to use it completely. I like this because it's more precise, and you can get like really detailed. I use this on vocals to like DS, because you can find that exact frequency to DS, and then you can just DS it and have it compress only that signal, so you're still retaining the overall quality, but it's only compressing when those S's and stuff are shooting out. So it's pretty good. I like it for that function. I love dynamic EQs. They're amazing. I suggest getting one if you can. They're lovely. Yeah, definitely go for one. Your maximizer, your typical limiter. They added a new algorithm for it, which is ICR 4, I think it is. Yeah, 4, because they added some new algorithms, the transients, classic model. I think this is in the old one, in Ozone 7. I'm not sure. I have to look. But then you got it's a new one. I think one of these are new. Yeah, I think this one is new. ICRLL, or Intelligent Release Control. That's what IRC stand for. LL is a new one. And then you got these three. I like to use either 2 for some reason, or the 4th one, and just change it. You got your peak. You got your true peak listen to. You got your ceiling, your threshold, how fast the release is, transient, sustain, and some emphasis on transients, which is pretty good. It has a new LUFS feature, which is a new standard for music. Not gonna go into too much detail about that, might be in a video, but that is good to have, because that's the new standard for music, I think, right now, to kind of make sure for broadcast stuff like that. So it's good to understand that. I'll probably do a full video on that later down the road. And then some other modules that I like. There's the vintage EQ, which is basically like a Pultec style EQ. It's got very broad EQ curves and all that, and you can also see that it has different frequencies to select for. You can't go in between. It's like certain frequencies, just like an old vintage style EQ. Then you got the vintage compressor, which is what it is. It's a vintage style compressor. You have 3 different modes. You have release, attack, threshold, which is pretty cool. Makeup gain. So yeah, there's that. We'll just delete some of these so we can put some more. And then we got the exciter, which is basically adding harmonics to different bands. You have 4 bands to add harmonics to, which you got, you know, you got analog, retro, tape, warm, diode, and dual. And it's got some pretty good sounds depending on what you're going for. You go for more vintage analog sound. You can add some, you know, some distortion in the kind of low end or in the mid frequency to give it just a little bit more of that vintage warm sound. It's pretty good. I don't really use this, but it's there if you want to. I mean, you know. Then we got the Imager, which is my favorite plugin in here, because it allows you to look at your stereo separation, or your stereo, how wide or how narrow your stuff is. I like to bring all my stuff to mono, because that's just the way I like doing stuff. And then I like to probably boost, you know, the highs and mids to kind of give it a little bit more stereo separation or stereo spread. I also like the learn feature. So basically what you do, you hit learn, and you play your music, and it actually listens to your audio and gives you and selects the bands for you. So and then it says, okay, this is your highs, this is your, you know, your mids, your low mids, and your lows. So I can solo it, bring that to mono, you know, probably add some, listen to this. That's a little bit. Add a little bit of stereo to it. And you know, you can see what's in phase and out of phase. You got 3 different type of spectrum to look at. Anything below 0 is out of phase, which means when you turn it to mono, certain sounds will disappear. And so you want to stay in the positive range when doing this. You don't if it goes negative, something's out of phase, and that means in a mono situation, it's going to completely disappear and not sound good. So keep that in mind. Then you got the vintage limiter, which is basically a vintage style limiter. You want that kind of old school limit sound. You got ceiling and threshold, and the mode and the character, which is great. It's very simple, and can pretty much give a good sound depending if you're going for that kind of old school type of vintage sound. You can do that, and it's a lot easier to use than maximizer, but it's there, but it's definitely dope. And remember, I do want to say before I continue, I think 3 of the modules you don't get unless you get the advanced. I think the vintage tape, the vintage EQ, and the vintage limiter you will not get if you only get the regular version. You only get that when you get the advanced version. And back to the tape, you got tape saturation, which is very good. They added a new speed, which is 7.5. It just gives it a little bit more like beef in the low end. The slower the tape speed is, the more low end emphasis you get and more high end roll off you get. And you got harmonics, low emphasis, high emphasis, the drive and the bias. It's all tape stuff, but we'll do a video about it if you guys want to know. And last but not least, you have the spectral shaper, which I don't know too much about. I got to read up on it. So that's when I'm going to look into myself, but it's there. We're probably going to look at that frequency range and detecting the process. I guess it's like I want to say, what's the word? A transient shaper for overall band. So I guess that's what it is. I don't know. I got to do my research. When I do research, I will come back to and talk about that and figure it out, because I want to learn what this is, because this is an all new module they added in there. So yeah, that's just pretty much a little overview of Ozone 8. Very dope plugin. I like it. It got great presets, and it has great functionality to it. Like I said, if you want an all-in-one mastering solution, this is definitely the way to go. You can't go wrong with it. Now they have the mastering assist. It makes mastering a lot easier. Like I said, you just play it, press it, let it listen to your music, see what it did to your music, make some changes, maybe add some stuff, take away some stuff, and get that perfect sound that you're looking for, so your stuff can be at the best quality it can be. Like I said, but don't let it master for you. Never let mastering assist, never let mastering assist master for you. Use it as a template or a starting point. Don't let it do it for you. You should never let anything do it for you. Presets are bad, but presets are bad if you use them and just leave them. They're only good if you tweak them and edit it to your sound that you're using. So yeah, if you got any questions about anything, or there's anything you want me to go more in depth with, I definitely will. I'm gonna be making a bunch of videos on how to master, and I'm gonna be using Ozone 8. But if you got Ozone 7, you can pretty much do the same thing, even Ozone 6, even Ozone 5 probably. Mine is a few little stuff like the dynamic EQ and stuff like that. But overall, I will be doing videos on how to use Ozone after this. So don't worry, I'm actually working on that next. So yeah, show you guys how I master with Ozone. Ozone 8. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Like always, if you got any questions, let me know. Check out the website, Ozone, iZotope.com, Ozone 8. I'll put the link in the description below where you can go check that stuff. Get a 10-day, get the trial, try the trial out, try it out, try it before you buy it, and go from there. So yeah, hope you guys are like, oh, you know who it is, your boy Slim, aka Mr. Different, not motivated by the money, but the like, comment, subscribe, and views. With that being said, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one, everybody.